I'm going to start with a confession. So the reason I started in SEO and later on in SEM and PPC is that a few decades ago, back when BlackBerries were still important and people were still using them, I decided to search myself online. No? So I tried to Google myself, and the first result that showed up was a picture, and I thought like, damn, I really don't look good on pictures. Then I took a closer look, and it was someone else, no? Someone else with the same name as I, showing up first. So I didn't know what to do, and I started investigating to, what was that person doing there, because I was searching for myself, and Google should know that, And so I started investigating and investigating. That's how I actually started with SEO, and later on with PPC as well, and I'm still enjoying it, and that's also why I'm here today, sharing some experiences of SEAT with all of you. As you've heard and seen, I have a quite unpronounceable name. I'm not from Spain. I'm actually from Belgium, and I don't know. I'm quite sure many of you haven't ever seen a Belgian guy presenting. No? Raise your hand if you've never seen a Belgian guy presenting on stage. Yeah, quite a few people. No? The reason is actually quite simple because first of all, we're a very small country. We're one of the smallest countries of Europe, so we're basically like 10 people. So if you want to play a football match, we can't even do it in proper condition, and that's why we also always lose when we're playing with two other teams. And the second reason is that when we're not sleeping, we're basically eating chocolate and drinking beer all the time. So making it physically to a stage is quite impossible for us. So that's why today is a very special day for all of you, and also for me, because I'm very happy to be here and sharing some experiences with you. Just one more word of advice. I'm going to be talking with a strange accent the entire presentation. That's another disadvantage of why Belgians never present, actually. So if you don't understand me, you can take your phone and dial 888, and subtitles will automatically display below me. If that doesn't happen, well, then you're in for one hell of a ride, because I'm going to be talking like this all the time. So, ready? Yeah? Great. So I'm going to explain a bit more about the company that I'm working at. We don't sell furniture or armchairs, as some people in the UK sometimes think. We are SEAT. So we sell cars. We sell these cars, amongst others. This is a Seat Leon and a Seat Ateca. So we sell cars. No? So now you're thinking, okay, Belgian guy and a car company. What the hell am I doing here? Or what is he doing here? Basically, the car industry also has started to change, because the way people buy cars, they still buy them in dealerships, but the way they buy cars, the way they investigate, has completely changed. Because earlier, a few years ago, well, quite some decades ago, it was quite different, because you'd basically publish an ad in a magazine, and people would have a look at that magazine, then they go to a dealership and they buy the car. End of the marketing funnel. Very easy. Everybody's satisfied. Nowadays, everything is very complicated, and everything has changed now, because we're living in a multi-screen, hyper-connected world where we're constantly checking our mobile phone. Searching online, some people taking pictures right now, saying Belgian guy on stage, breaking news. So, we're constantly connected. Internet of Things is catching on us. So we as a car company also had to change our way of thinking. So what we basically saw and what we know is that 94% of people that end up buying a car start their search online. So they start comparing cars and thinking, would this be the best car for me? Would that be the best car for me? So, having a look at reviews and all that stuff. So the way we're selling things and the way people are searching has completely changed. And that's also why a few years ago, we decided to centralize all the search activities here in Barcelona, where we have our headquarters. So we decided to centralize our main markets, which is Euro 5, and then we've got Mexico, Portugal, Ireland, Poland, and Sweden as well. So we centralize them all here for all the SEO and PPC activities. So basically, what we do here is we try to improve the presence of SEAT in all of these markets by using Google and Bing. Well, actually Google, and Bing is also there, just to make it look good. But basically Google, to improve organic rankings and paid traffic. No? So the way or the reason why we did this was because we decided to transform some main challenges we had in advantages. And those challenges or advantages right now is, the first one is economies of scale. By centralizing everything that we're doing, we can now create content centrally and then distribute it easily to all the other countries. So we're not spending a lot of money on creating content than by doing it locally. We do have local contacts that help us with keywords, with link building and all that stuff. But being able to create it centrally and then distribute it has enormous economies of scale. Also a strategic approach, because if we see that something is working in one country, we can then easily adapt it to other countries. So that's also an enormous strategic advantage. And communication as well, because instead of having to communicate with perhaps 10 different SEO agencies or 20, if the country has both an SEO and an SEM agency, instead of having to talk to all of them and being constantly talking about to different people, what we decided was now with the centralized approach, we have 2 agencies, one for SEO and one for PPC. People of that agency in our local markets as well that help us with translations, with link building and all that stuff. But we're basically just working with 2 agencies in all of these markets. So that's an enormous advantage. Before continuing with the presentation, I just want to make something clear about the terminology that I'm going to be using in the next slides, because basically, I don't know if you have noticed this as well, but explaining digital marketing to friends and to colleagues is quite complicated, no? Have you ever tried explaining what you're doing in your job to your parents or to your grandparents? I tried to do it. I was speaking. My parents asked me, what is it exactly that you do in the digital marketing? So I tried explaining. I was explaining for half an hour. SEO, SEM, PPC, I don't know what. And then after half an hour, they're like, "So you work in PR, right?" And it was like, okay. My grandparents actually think I'm a web programmer, so I'm creating websites for SEAT. So as long as it makes them happy, I just leave it at that. But also at work, has it happened to you as well that you're trying to explain what you're doing and people don't seem to understand? Has it happened to you? Yeah, some people as well. No? It's our fault actually as well, no? Because throughout the years we've been using acronyms, abbreviations, and different terminology to make us sound like more interesting. No? So if you go to a company meeting and they're like, "Oh, the guy from digital marketing, explain a bit what's happening." So you're like, okay, the new CTA that we created for the PPC campaign increased the ROI. So people are like, "What?" And they're thinking like, I didn't understand what you were talking about, but you used a lot of difficult sounding words, so it must make sense what you're saying. No? So that was what was happening before, but now people are starting to catch up on us. No? So now in meetings, when we say or use these words and terminology, people are like, "But shouldn't it be decreasing if you change the CTA?" And so we can now do things. We can either change and invent new words, new terminology, because the rest of the people are catching up on us, and we need to start using new words. Or we could do or follow another strategy that we've used in SEAT, which is try to standardize more or less the different terminologies we're using internally. So in SEAT, what we've been doing is we've been referring to everything that has to do with organic search as SEO, and everything that has to do with paid search, with PPC, as SEM. So I know some people are getting very nervous right now, because you're right, SEM, search engine marketing, is like the central umbrella concept, which englobes both SEO and SEA, so search engine advertising, and PPC is a part of search engine advertising. So actually the correct way would be to use SEO and PPC, but we just wanted to create more confusion. No, actually the reason why we decided to do it was that most countries were using SEM to refer to paid traffic and SEO to everything that's related to organic. So that's also why in the rest of this presentation I'm going to talk about SEM and SEO, but we all know that grammatically it's not the correct way to explain it. But yeah. So basically the search strategy or the search setup that we're following is, as most companies, focusing on brand keywords. So everything that has to do with our brand and our models, covered 100% as a defensive strategy to make sure that competitors are not showing up. And also the generic keyword strategy, which, as you've noticed as well, generic keywords, a lot of competition, quite expensive in SEM, quite difficult to rank organically, so quite complicated. The way we set up our agency is we have people here centrally with us, so 2 different agencies, and we've got local people in all of the countries helping us with keywords, helping us with link building, as I said before, and also with ad copies, of course, for SEM. However, it's still 2 different agencies, so it's still a bit a divided world. And then sometimes when I'm speaking to the SEO team or when I'm speaking to the SEM team, they be like, so who's the best, right? SEO or SEM? So to the SEO team, I'm always saying, of course you're the best, And to the SEM team, the same thing, Now we're filming this, and now they're going to see the video, and they know that I've lied to them. Okay, so yeah, no problem. But the way we set it up was that now, so with 2 different agencies. The thing is, most people still see SEO and SEM as like 2 different entities. No, Pilar talked about a marriage before. I tried to change it a bit to the film industry and use Star Wars. So you got SEO right on the right side, which is like the good thing. Work hard, and you can position a keyword. In the end, if you follow the rules by Google and Bing, and then you've got the dark side. SEM, as long as you have money, you can spend it, and then you're at the top of the results, and it's so easy. And that's perhaps a very simplistic representation, because in the end, actually, they're quite good together, and they have advantages, the 2 of them. Before going into the advantages that both SEO and SEM have, let's just dive into the search marketing funnel that we're using, which is very similar to what Pilar told us about before. So we're following the same marketing funnel. We've got people in different phases of the funnel, looking for different keywords, and we're targeting them with different SEO and SEM strategies. So the first phase we have is the awareness phase, so people looking for family cars in general. This is, people at the top of the funnel, not very interested, not willing to buy, but, just informing themselves, which family cars are there out there, for instance. Then we've got the interest phase. These people, they already know that they want a family car, but, they're looking for brands. They already discovered that SEAT doesn't sell furniture, but cars. So they already, wrote down, SEAT family cars. Interested in knowing more about the company. Then we've got the consideration phase. In this phase, people are already considering buying a SEAT. They just want some more information. So they normally be looking something for brand, model, and category. So SEAT Ateca family car, for instance. They already know the brand. They already know the model they want. They just want some more information to see if they're going to buy or not. And the almost the last phase, this is buyer intent. These are people willing to buy, so they're convinced about the great cars SEAT makes, which is true. So they're convinced about the great cars that SEAT makes. They just want to see some reviews, see some YouTube videos, have some in-depth interviews where people talk about all the aspects of the car. And then we've got the final phase, the decision phase. So this is where people really start searching for a dealership. This is the phase where they want to buy. In terms of traffic, very low, but in terms of conversion, very high. So what we actually do is, SEO and SEM, which is PPC, remember? So SEO and SEM are working perfectly together here to make sure that we're catching all of those people in the different phases. Actually, just as Pilar explained as well, SEM works very well for awareness, because organically it's very difficult for us to position ourselves at the top of the results, because we're competing with other car brands, but also with blogs, with newspapers. So SEM is very good for awareness, and then also in all the other phases. But basically, we're working together, no? And the advantages that, for instance, SEO has are very clear to us. SEO allows us to have a certain authority, So we are all working in digital marketing, and we know about AdWords ads and Bing ads, and we're not the typical public, but most people are still afraid of clicking. They think that if they click on an ad, a virus is going to install, or they're going to go to a website where their data will be hacked or something like that. So most people still believe that SEO, that organic results are the best ones, because you've been working so hard to get to the top of Google. Another point is ROI. So once you've positioned the website, and once you've got links to your website and to your web page, it's the most efficient channel, because paid traffic, you're constantly paying per click. So the ROI for SEO is very, very well. And then stability as well. This mostly for generic keywords, because in our industry, for generic keywords, that's not the case. But it's mostly for brand keywords. So once we've climbed to the top positions for all of our brand keywords, we're there, and we're not going to move, because we are SEAT, in the end. So no blog or competitor is going to move past us in those results. The advantages of SEM for us, this is something perhaps contradictory to popular belief, but long tail searches, so more than 6 words, tend to perform better for us in SEM. So we're going to see an example now as well about it. They also allow for more control because once we set up these SEM campaigns, we know exactly when to show it to who, on which device. So that's also something very, very good for us. And another advantage is speed. No? I'm going to show an example now, but SEM campaigns, we can set them up in minutes or in seconds, and that's specifically interested in some situations. So just some examples. Imagine a person searching on Google and looking for a car in a specific color. So that person would be like, I don't know which color I like, but Google knows which color I like. So I'm just going to type in Seat Leon in a color that I like. So that's the query I put in here. And Google will tell me which color I have to select. So organically, this is a very challenging keyword because organically, what's going to show up is blogs, or forums. People commenting, the color I chose for my car is this one. With SEM, we can show up in the first results, so we can just be there whenever a person is doing a long tail search. We also know that Google, well, we all know that Google likes SEO, but actually loves SEM because that's the way they make money. So that's also why they're constantly improving the way they're displaying SEM campaigns. So we've been testing these visual site links in Ireland, and as you can see, what is happening is that all the SEO work we've been doing, so all the organic positioning is just placed a bit lower, and what's visible on a mobile phone nowadays are those SEM campaigns because they drive more revenue to Google. So being aware of what's changing in SEO is also very good, to make sure that all your ads are very visible. And then what we mentioned before, so speed, also very important. Why? Because when we're presenting a new model, this is, for instance, the 26th of June. This is when we presented the Seat Arona, which is a new car model. So before presenting it officially, we cannot, comment anything about the car. We cannot put it on our website. So what's happening is, so the 26th, just before the general presentation, what you see here is when you're searching for Seat Arona, you see blogs, you see newspapers, writing about the car. What happens next is when we present the car, we just add an SEM campaign, and in 2 minutes, we're occupying the top positions, and we're driving people directly to our website where they can find some more information about the car. So that's why SEM, in some instances, although it's for some people considered the dark side, is like a good advantage, especially in terms of speed. Now, we've seen advantages of SEO and SEM. Now, let's just now look at why they're better together. And to illustrate that point, I've made a summary of 3 cases that we've recently done in 3 different countries, just to give you an idea as to why it's good to have them working together. So first case we have here is a case that we did in Spain. So what we did in Spain is we noticed that for generic keywords, so for family cars, to stay in the same example, family cars is a quite complicated concept because organically it's very difficult to position it well. Also in SEM, what's happening to us is that if people search for family cars and we show up an ad, where do you drive people to? Do you drive them to the Seat Ateca, which is one car, to the Seat Alhambra, which is another one? Which one do we display? So that was a bit the problem we had. And in the SEM campaigns, we just decided, okay, let's drive them to the Seat Ateca because that's where we want people now researching for. So what we did was we created several landing pages for different categories. So we had family cars, we had hatchbacks, sedans, multi-purpose vehicles. So we created all those different landing pages which were optimized for SEO and which included all the different models of that specific category. So the way we did it was, just creating landing pages. And then what we did was we replaced the SEM landing pages with those SEO landing pages. So this is what it looked like. So if you were looking for, in Spain, for instance, for family cars, you'd see an ad of Seat. No? So if you click here in SEM, you'd go directly to a landing page of the Seat Ateca. But this sometimes wasn't the most adequate model people were searching for. So what would happen? Bounce rate would go up, quality score would go down, we would pay higher CPCs, and also because it's so competitive in SEO, we wouldn't even be showing up. So what we did is we created SEO landing pages where we had all the different models of that specific category, and people could just click on it and find the model that they liked. So that way, we managed to decrease the bounce rate and improve the results. So the campaign cost increased because we also increased the SEO keywords. So we added more keywords, which obviously made it show up more often. So we received 150% more clicks. The bounce rate decreased 36% in the CPC. This is also very interesting, decreased 74% because of better keywords, because of better landing page. So quality score went up, and CTR went up, and we started paying less for those keywords. So that's an example of what we did in Spain. And another example of what we did in UK, another test. This is a test to show how SEM can improve SEO. So what we know in the UK and other countries as well is that our most expensive keywords are keywords related to car loans, car financing, because we're competing with other brands again, but also with banks. They have like these massive budgets for those keywords. So it's not uncommon for us to see keywords with a CPC of 30 euros per click, which for us is quite high for our industry, for those generic keywords. So if we could improve those keywords and those SEM campaigns, we could potentially save a lot of money. So what did we do? We created, we downloaded the SQR results of AdWords, and I had a look at all the keywords that were triggering the ad. So what we then did is we created like a filter. This is something we did because we decided that those were the perfect filters, but of course, for every company it's different. But we looked at the keywords that generated more than 150 clicks, which had a CPC of more than 2 euros and a CTR of less than 10%. Then we had like this list of worst performing keywords. No? We then used those worst performing keywords as seed keywords and combined them with Google Search Console data to then improve our SEO landing pages, and with the idea to then show up organically in a higher position and lower our SEM investment. So basically, this is what if you're in the UK and you're looking for cars on finance, this is what you see now. So these are the results. What we see is that in position 6 and 9, we've got two car companies. So we've got BMW and Vauxhall, and on position 6 and 9, showing up for that very competitive keyword. So that shows us that it's really possible to dominate those SEO searches as well. Actually, we had a look at Ahrefs, and we saw that in terms of page and domain authority, they're quite similar. The only difference that they have is that they have a lot more backlinks. We have 34 now to our SEO landing page, and yeah, our competitors have 1,401 1 million more or less backlinks to that website. So that means that basically by improving our SEO keywords and by adding more backlinks, so making the content more attractive for bloggers, for newspapers, we could potentially go and increase our rankings quite drastically. So we're doing this now, so we don't have results yet, but the expected results are that we're going to increase our rankings, our position. We're now in position 51, which is quite bad. The idea is to climb to position 8 and then get 350% more visits. We calculated the bounce rate would drop by 50%, and most importantly, by our calculations, the campaign cost would decrease by 30%. That's perhaps not that much, but take into account that we're talking about keywords with a CPC of 30 euros, so quite significant. And then a final test or a final case that we're doing in Germany is about the Seat Mii, which is also a car that we sell. So what we have here is we wanted to see how SEO and SEM could be integrated more. So what we did was we had a look at those campaigns, at the brand campaigns for the Seat Mii, and we wanted to calculate if SEM traffic was stealing traffic from SEO. So how did we do it? Well, we paused the campaigns for the Seat Mii during 15 days. During those 15 days, we measured the increase in organic clicks, and then we compared the period before and after to see if there was any potential search conflict or cannibalization between the two. So basically, what does that mean? We've got two columns here. One is ad off. This is very nice thing because this is when the ads were off. Hence the name ad off. So this is when the ads were paused for the Seat Mii. So what we see is in terms of organic clicks, we've got 2,128 organic clicks. In terms of ad clicks, that's not a mistake. We've got 16 because we decided to pause the campaigns when we came to the office. So these are accumulated clicks from 12 o'clock at night until 9 or 10 o'clock when we got to the office. So what we see is when the ads are off, organic clicks manage to send, we get 2,128 clicks on our SEO results. When the ads are off, when the ads are on again, so when SEM is working again, the organic clicks drop and ad clicks increase. Yeah? So this gives us a total of 3,152 versus 2,144 clicks. So what we can see is it increased, so that's good. But we wanted to go a step further, no? And to determine if SEM ads were stealing the traffic from SEO. As you can see from the first results, it's the case, no? Because if they weren't stealing traffic or if there wasn't a search conflict, this would remain more or less stable and this would just increase. So basically, to calculate the search conflict score, what we did is we took the incremental clicks, so this is 1,008, that's the number of incremental clicks, and we divided that by the total ad clicks when the ads are on. So that's 1,008 divided by 1,880, so that gives us 54%. Is that good or bad? Well, it basically shows us that there is a certain type of search conflict between those two campaigns, so SEO and SEM. Is it good or is it bad? Well, if it's between 0 and 100%, we've got a positive search conflict. So it means that the traffic, if we have both SEO and SEM ads on, it means that traffic from which people that would normally go or click on SEO links are now clicking on SEM links. So we're losing them a bit, so there's a bit of cannibalization, as to speak. If it's less than 0, it's very negative because it means when the ads are on, overall traffic decreases. So SEO traffic decreases, but SEM traffic also decreases. So that's like the worst situation you can have. If it's more than 100%, it means they're completely independent of each other. So SEO traffic is increasing and SEM traffic is increasing when the ads are on. So we're just in the middle. So we have like a certain type of search conflict of 54%. Is this good or is this bad? Well, in seeing it like this, it shows that there's a conflict. No? So logical reasoning behind it would be to pause the SEM campaigns. However, it's a bit difficult to do it because we're talking about brand campaigns. Also, some things to keep in mind is that we were doing this during the summer. So it's not very representative at the moment because most people were probably at the beach. Only our competitors were perhaps clicking on the ads to cost us some money or something like that. No, most people were on the beach probably or somewhere else because we did it in July. In terms of competitors as well, as soon as we paused our SEM campaigns, competitors immediately started bidding on our keywords, so they started showing up. So that's why, in the end, for brand keywords, this perhaps doesn't make a lot of sense because you're just making the way open for competitors. And also, sometimes it's good, especially for brand campaigns, to have a certain level of search conflict because it also helps with branding. So if you are both in SEM and in SEO at the top position, people trust you more and they're more willing to click on whatever traffic channel it is, and in the end, they both drive traffic to your website. So in the end, so these are the current results. At the moment, with those implementations and with the centralization of SEO and SEM here in our headquarters, we're now representing 55% of all the traffic that goes to our websites. So in terms of SEO and SEM, they're very effective channels to get more people to our website. And the idea is to continue with that and to continue to do some tests and see how we can improve what's the marriage, as Pilar mentioned before, between SEO and SEM. Thanks very much for your attention. Just one thing to remember as well. If you are staying here for the night in Barcelona, don't forget to check your room number because a friend of mine a couple of days ago had some problems because he got his room key, so he started searching for his room. Went everywhere, didn't find it, went to the reception. They also started looking for his room. Also couldn't find it, had to stay outside of his room all night because he couldn't find it. In the end, of course, it was all clear because he was at an SEO conference and his room was 404, so couldn't be found. So on that note, thanks again. Well, very bad joke to end this presentation, but yeah, got some people like it. Anyway, thank you.